The click of the seatbelt buckle was the loudest sound in the world. It echoed in the quiet of the car, a final, metallic confirmation of my predicament. I was in the back seat. My own car. And the man driving, a guy named Mark I'd known for all of 45 minutes, was humming softly along to a classic rock station. My name is Liam. It was a Tuesday, and my life was about to be divided into two distinct halves, the person I was before this drive, and the person I would be forced to become after. It had started with a simple, modern problem. My trusty sedan, a 10-year-old Honda I'd affectionately named Betsy, had finally given up the ghost. The transmission, according to the mechanic, had decided to retire in a spectacularly catastrophic fashion. The repair bill was more than the car was worth. I had a crucial meeting the next morning in Willow Creek, a town a 3-hour drive away, a pitch meeting for a project I'd been pouring my soul into for 6 months. My career, I was convinced, hinged on this one presentation. Flights were booked solid. The one rental car agency in my small town had a fleet of exactly 2 cars, and both were out. I was desperate. In a last-ditch effort, I'd turned to a ride-sharing app I rarely used, one that connected drivers and passengers for longer trips. That's where I found Mark. His profile picture was friendly, a smiling guy in his late 40s with a graying beard and kind eyes. His car was a late-model SUV, spacious and clean, according to the reviews. He had a 5-star rating with over 200 trips. Safe and conversational, or quiet, your choice. His bio read, he was heading to Willow Creek anyway to visit family, he said, and my offer to cover gas and a generous fee made it a no-brainer for him. When he pulled up, the SUV was indeed immaculate. It smelled of lemon-scented cleaner and new leather. Mark was just as his picture promised, avuncular, wearing a comfortable flannel shirt. He shook my hand with a firm, calloused grip. Liam, I'm Mark. Ready to hit the road? More than ready, I'd said, relief washing over me. I moved to put my laptop bag and suitcase in the back, assuming I'd take the front passenger seat. It's the polite thing to do, right? To sit up front, to be a companion on a long drive, not a pampered passenger in the back. But Mark had held up a hand. Ah, sorry, Liam. Do you mind terribly taking the back? My wife, Sarah, she's a bit of a neat freak. That front seat, it's kind of her domain. She's got her seat warmer setting just so, her lumbar support perfectly adjusted. She'd kill me if I let someone mess with it. Superstition, you know. He laughed, a warm, rumbling sound. It seemed like a quirky, harmless request. A little odd, maybe, but who was I to argue with a man's marital harmony? I forced a smile. No problem at all. The back is great. So, I climbed in. The back seat was plush and comfortable, but it immediately felt subordinate. I was a kid being chauffeured by his dad. The world looked different from back here, framed by the headrests of the front seats. It created a psychological barrier, putting me at a remove from the person in control. For the first hour, everything was fine. We made small talk. He asked about my work, my meeting. I told him about the graphic design project I was pitching. He told me about his 2 kids in college, his wife Sarah who worked as a nurse, his plans to go fishing with his brother in Willow Creek. He was affable, normal. The epitome of a dependable, middle-aged dad. I remember thinking how lucky I was to have found him instead of some erratic driver. I settled in, answering a few emails on my phone as the monotonous landscape of the interstate rolled by. The first flicker of something being off was so subtle I almost dismissed it. We were passing a major truck stop, a sprawling complex with a dozen fast food options. My coffee had run through me, and I needed a bathroom break. Hey, Mark, you mind pulling off at this exit? I could really use a rest stop. He glanced in the rearview mirror. His eyes, which had seemed so kind before, now looked, assessing. The friendly crinkles around them seemed to harden for a fraction of a second. Oh, I wouldn't recommend that one, Liam. Place is a dive. Filthy bathrooms. There's a much better, cleaner one about 40 minutes up the road. Can you hold out? It was a reasonable suggestion. But the tone was just a little too firm. A little too paternal. I was a 32-year-old man, not a child who needed his bathroom breaks scheduled. Sure, I guess so, I said, a prickle of unease running down my spine. He nodded, his avuncular smile returning. Trust me, it's for the best. Trust me. The words echoed in the quiet car. And I did. Or, I felt I had to. I was in his vehicle, hurtling down the highway at 75 miles per hour. The power dynamic had just subtly, irrevocably, shifted. The next 40 minutes were tense. I tried to go back to my phone, but my focus was gone. I started noticing things. The way he adjusted his mirrors was precise, methodical, not a casual glance, but a series of calculated checks: rear view, side mirror, blind spot, repeat. Every 5 minutes, like clockwork. It was the behavior of someone who was either hypervigilant or deeply paranoid. He also never used his phone. It was mounted on the dashboard, but it remained dark. No GPS, no incoming calls, no music changes. He just drove, his hands at 10 and 2, his posture ramrod straight. The better rest stop never materialized. When 40 minutes came and went, I cleared my throat. Mark, that rest stop. Oh, shoot, he said, slapping the steering wheel lightly. I totally missed the turnoff. It's a sneaky one. There's another one coming up, I promise. The unease in my gut tightened into a knot. This was no longer a quirk. This was a pattern. I was being managed, controlled. I decided to test the boundaries. You know, my phone's GPS says there's an exit with a gas station in about 2 miles. We could take that. His eyes met mine in the mirror. This time, there was no mistaking the coldness in them. The friendly facade had completely dropped. I know this road like the back of my hand, son. We'll stop when I say we stop. Son. The word was a deliberate put-down, a reassertion of dominance. The air in the car grew thick and heavy. The lemon-scented cleaner now smelled cloying, synthetic. The comfortable leather seats felt like a plush prison. I looked out the window. The signs for the exit I'd mentioned flew by. He made no move to slow down. My heart began to hammer against my ribs. I was trapped. I thought about screaming. I thought about calling the police. But what would I say? Hello, 911. My rideshare driver won't let me use the bathroom. It sounded insane. That's when I saw it. As he reached up to adjust the rearview mirror again, his flannel shirt sleeve rode up his forearm. And there, etched into his skin, was a tattoo. It wasn't a nautical star or a family name. It was a series of numbers and letters, stark and black, C284. It looked like a prison ID. Or an inmate number. My blood ran cold. Every story I'd ever read about seemingly normal people who were actually monsters flashed through my mind. The friendly neighbor. The quiet coworker. The 5-star rated rideshare driver. The pieces began to snap into a terrifying new picture. The refusal to let me sit up front. Was it really about his wife's seat settings? Or was it to keep me contained, to prevent me from having easy access to the door handle or the gear shift? The refusal to stop. Was he on a schedule? Was he taking me somewhere specific? I had to do something. My phone was in my hand. I opened my messaging app, my fingers trembling. I couldn't make a call. He would hear me. I had to text. But who? My mind went blank with fear. I opened my group chat with my 2 best friends, Jake and Chloe. Guys, I typed, trying to keep my breathing even. I'm in a rideshare. Driver is named Mark. License plate. I craned my neck, but I couldn't see it from the back seat. Can't see plate. He won't let me out of the car. Something is very wrong. He has a tattoo on his arm. C284, like a prisoner ID. We're on I-42, heading east. Just past mile marker 117. I hit send. The little, delivered, notification appeared under each message. No immediate response. It was the middle of a workday. They were probably in meetings. Everything all right back there, Liam? Mark's voice was smooth, but it had an edge to it. He'd been watching me in the mirror. Yeah, fine, I squeaked, my voice cracking. Just texting my colleague about the meeting. Good, good, best to be prepared. He turned up the radio. A cheerful, upbeat pop song now filled the car, a grotesque contrast to the sheer terror coiling inside me. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. The world outside was beautiful, normal. And I was in a glass and steel cage, hurtling toward an unknown horror. My phone vibrated silently in my hand. A message from Jake. Dude, what? Are you serious? Call the police. Another vibration. Chloe. Liam, this isn't funny. Send me your location right now. I opened my map and dropped a pin, sending it to the group. My location showed us moving steadily east, away from everything familiar. I'm serious, I typed, my thumbs clumsy with fear. He won't stop the car. He's not who he says he is. The tattoo. I'm scared. The responses came fast now. Jake. I'm calling the state police. Keep your phone on you. We're tracking you. Chloe. We're here, Liam. We're with you. Just stay calm. Tears welled in my eyes, a mixture of sheer terror and overwhelming gratitude. I wasn't alone, but what could they do? We were on a highway. The police would have to find us, a single car among thousands. Mark took an exit. It wasn't for Willow Creek. It was a smaller, two-lane state road, heading north into a heavily wooded area. This was it. He was taking me off the main grid. Where are we going? I asked, unable to keep the tremor from my voice. Shortcut, he said, not even bothering to look at me. Traffic up ahead. This will save us 20 minutes. It was a lie. The interstate had been clear. The trees closed in around us, the road becoming darker, more desolate. The cheerful pop song on the radio felt like a mockery. My phone buzzed again. A new message from Jake. Police have your location. They are deploying units to intercept. They said to try and keep him on main roads if you can. Can you cause a distraction? A distraction? How? I was in the back seat. I was a prisoner. I looked around the car, my mind racing. My eyes fell on my suitcase. And then, I had a desperate, crazy idea. Mark, I said, my voice shaking. I think I'm going to be sick. Car sickness. I really need you to pull over. Right now. It was the oldest trick in the book, but it was all I had. He glanced back, his expression one of pure annoyance. Just breathe through it. We're almost there. No, I'm serious, I moaned, putting as much theatrical agony into my voice as I could. I leaned forward, clutching my stomach. It's coming up. I'm gonna vomit all over your wife's pristine back seat. The mention of the back seat, his wife's domain by proxy, did it. A look of genuine disgust and anger crossed his face. He cursed under his breath and began to slow down, pulling onto a wide, gravelly shoulder of the road. The SUV crunched to a halt. Make it quick, he snarled. This was my chance. My heart was a drum solo in my ears. I fumbled with the seatbelt, my hands slick with sweat. The buckle released. I pushed the door open and stumbled out into the cool evening air, my legs wobbly. I bent over, pretending to dry heave, but my eyes were scanning the area. We were on a lonely stretch of road, surrounded by dense pine forest. There were no other cars. I heard his door open. He was getting out. You done? He called, his voice tight. I straightened up, turning to face him. The facade was completely gone now. The man standing before me was cold, hard, and dangerous. The kind eyes were gone, replaced by a flat, predatory gaze. Who are you? I whispered. Get back in the car, Liam. It wasn't a request. It was an order. No. I took a step backward, away from the car, toward the tree line. If I could make it to the woods, I could run. I could hide. He took a step toward me. Get in the car. In that moment, I knew with absolute certainty that if I got back in that car, I would never get out again. My life would end in these woods. Suddenly, the distinct, beautiful sound of sirens cut through the quiet rural air. Far away at first, then growing rapidly closer. Red and blue lights flashed, reflecting off the trees in the distance. Mark's head snapped toward the sound. His face contorted in a mask of pure, unadulterated rage. He looked back at me, and for a second, I thought he might rush me, might try to drag me back into the car and make a run for it. You, he hissed, the word dripping with venom. He made a decision. He jumped back into the SUV, slammed the door, and peeled out, spraying gravel everywhere. The SUV roared back onto the road and disappeared around a bend. I stood there, shaking uncontrollably, as two state police cruisers skidded to a stop on the shoulder. Officers poured out, their weapons drawn. Are you Liam? One of them shouted, rushing toward me. I could only nod, my body trembling with violent, post-adrenaline shudders. I pointed a shaky hand down the road. He went that way. One cruiser immediately took off in pursuit. The other officer stayed with me, his voice calm and steady as he guided me to sit on the bumper of his car and wrapped a blanket around my shoulders. I was in shock. The next few hours were a blur. I gave my statement over and over again. They found Mark's SUV abandoned a few miles down the road. He'd fled into the woods. But they caught him 2 hours later, trying to hitch a ride on a nearby highway. The story the police pieced together over the following days was more terrifying than anything my imagination could have conjured. Mark was not a family man going to visit his brother. His real name was Marcus Drayton. He was a fugitive, wanted in 3 states for aggravated assault, armed robbery, and the kidnapping of a business executive 6 months prior. The executive had been found, days later, wandering along a highway, traumatized and dehydrated. He had also been picked up for a long-distance ride. He had also been made to sit in the back seat. The tattoo, C284, was his inmate number from a prison break 5 years ago. The wife, Sarah, didn't exist. The front seat was kept empty, the police psychologist later explained, as part of his ritual. It was a control mechanism. The back seat made the victim feel isolated, infantilized, and easier to manage. He used ride-sharing apps because they provided a veneer of legitimacy. His 5-star ratings were a carefully cultivated weapon. His MO was always the same. He would identify a passenger who seemed to have money or was traveling on business, take them on a shortcut, and then rob them, holding them captive until he could access their accounts or ransom them. The executive had been tortured for his PIN numbers. The police believed I was being taken to a remote hunting cabin he had scouted, where he would have done the same to me. My story made the local news. I was called lucky and resourceful. But luck hadn't saved me. Texting my friends had. Sending my location had. The police, acting on that real-time information, had already been converging on our general area when I forced him to stop. My desperate act of pretending to be sick had just been the final pin on the map. I never made my meeting in Willow Creek. I called the client from the police station, my voice still shaking, and explained. They were horrified and incredibly understanding. They gave me the contract anyway. I still have nightmares. I still can't sit in the back seat of a car without my heart rate spiking. I see Mark's face, Marcus's face, in crowds sometimes, a ghost that will probably haunt me for years. What happened next shocked me, yes. But what shocked me more was the realization of how thin the veneer of civilization really is. How a 5-star rating can hide a monster. How a simple request, "Do you mind sitting in the back?" can be the first thread you pull that unravels a nightmare. I got a new car. And I always drive myself. Because the most shocking thing of all was learning that the back seat isn't just a place to sit. In the wrong car, with the wrong person, it can feel an awful lot like a cage. And the only thing that got me out was a connection to the world outside, a world that, thanks to a text message and the friends who heard its silent scream, came racing to my rescue just in time.